video, we discovered that stances have no impact on save animations. We also discovered stances impact our perception of our positioning. They also impact what the shooter sees is open or covered. And they also matter in certain plays where you get no save animation whatsoever. I want to start off by saying that 99% of being good at this game is your positioning and your play reads. If you're too worried about your stance or your build, you're going to get worse. Builds and stances will not make you a better goalie, and it's not what separates the elite goalies from the average goalies. It's their thumbs and their brains. I also want to say that I encourage everyone to challenge what I discovered by running their own experiments. I get my test ideas from playing goalie in ESHL at the highest level since Old Gen. I make my videos based on proof using experiments rather than just my experience alone. When you challenge my ideas, make sure you have hard proof and evidence using controlled tests. We don't want any outside variables like AI players or in-game scenarios where there's lots of different things going on, because hockey is the most luck-based sport in existence. We also want to make sure that we have lots of samples so that we know our test is accurate. So with that, I'd like to thank JT13, Triggered, and Ziggy for running the stance test for me and challenging my last video. They found a scenario that happens a lot in game that I didn't cover in my last video, so I want to display it here. They start off by lining the goalie's skate up with the edge of the post by dropping into butterfly with the puck in the slot. When you're in butterfly, your legs are in the same spot no matter what stance you use. The goalie then stood up, and the shooter lined their heels up with the edge of the circle here, and they took a variety of high, mid-height, and low short side shots to test stances 26, which is wide and has a wide glove, 24, which is a wide base and a high tucked-in glove, and 56, which is an old-school narrow stance. And what they found was that stance 26 let in more high shots, stance 24 let in more mid-height shots but saved more high shots, and stance 56 seemed to cover high and mid-height shots but let in the low shots. If you want to get really scientific with it, the shooter shot at 2 o'clock on the left stick, 3 o'clock on the left stick, and 5 o'clock on the left stick. So what did this new test tell us? Stances are still only a factor when there's no animation or your goalie has a late reaction. You can see in this video that the puck hits the goalie's glove before a save animation kicks in. This scenario happens more frequently in game around the sides of the net, so it is important. Narrow stances and old school stances require to be closer to the post to save short side shots with no animation. This means if you use a wider stance, you can get your feet closer to the post while still actually being more towards the center of the net. Now that doesn't mean you're going to save more shots short side with the wider stance. It just means you're going to save different types of shots, and it's going to look like you're covering the post more than you actually are. Again, this means if the shooter shoots at your glove or your pad because of your stance and you get no save animation, you're going to save it. But if your pad or your glove isn't in the way, it's going to go in. At the end of the day, there's no way to predict where a shooter is going to shoot more often than not. So it's very difficult to say stance 24 is better than stance 38 or whatever it is. Remember that this is a controlled test as well. The skater isn't moving. There's no goalie movement. There's no screen from teammates or opponents. In-game scenarios are so much different. Most goalies would move into the post to cover it no matter what stance they use if they look like they're out of position. Shooters are going to be cutting towards the post and shooting in different spots every time. So again, there's no way to say that there's one stance better than the other. With that being said, I do encourage everyone to try a wider stance if you don't use one already. 6, 24, 26, 38, which is what I use and I love it, 49. But again, this won't make you elite. I use stance 17, which is a very balanced stance, for years, and I played my best goalie with it. Top goalies use whatever they think looks the coolest and doesn't throw off their positioning. Focus on the meat and potatoes of your gameplay, focus on your positioning, your play reads, and you'll be way better off in this game. I actually want to do a challenge where you guys give me a build and a stance to use in drop-in or in a scrim, and I'll use it. And I'll just prove to you that you can use pretty much anything in this game and be successful. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.